In this video, I'm going to cover the new 2025 dieting strategy that has got 400 plus men absolutely shredded eating more food. Say goodbye to keto diets, say goodbye to carnivore diets, and say goodbye to starving yourself to just get lean. Because in this video, I'm going to break it down from top to bottom how this new dieting strategy has changed the world of fitness. And so, if you guys don't know me by now, my name's Adam Bunnell. I'm an online metabolic specialist, and I specialize in metabolism manipulation in a process called metabolic priming. So I've worked with 400 men in 7 different countries using a lot of this approach to get men extremely lean using more of a data analytical scientific approach to fat loss. So in the video, we're going to cover what it is, what metabolic priming is, how it works, and then we're going to actually go through an actual case study step by step with my client Devin on how we ended up getting him absolutely six-pack shredded at age 45. So let's get right into this video because we got a long one today, but I want you guys to stick around because I'm going to break this down from top to bottom to make you guys fully understand the impact that metabolic priming is creating into the fitness space. So first of all, what is it? So metabolic priming refers to strategically manipulating carbohydrate intake to optimize the body's metabolic processes, particularly for fat burning and energy production. It's a technique used to prepare the body for a fat loss phase or improve athletic performance by enhancing the efficiency of how the body uses and stores energy. So it preconditions the body. Metabolic priming with carbohydrates involves gradually increasing carbohydrate intake before fat loss diet, enhance fat burning. Strategically using carbs, metabolic priming can indirectly support fat burning. It can help optimize the body's transition more smoothly in a fat burning state by ensuring adequate energy stores and optimizing the metabolic pathways for efficient metabolism. Carbohydrates are the body's primary source of energy, and metabolic priming helps ensure the body is well equipped to utilize them for fuel. This can lead to improved energy levels, better workout performance, and enhanced recovery. Support muscle growth and repair. By repairing carbohydrates with protein, metabolic priming can support muscle growth and repair, especially after workouts. This is because carbohydrates can shuttle protein in the muscle cells, aiding in protein synthesis, and it's an individualized approach. Metabolic priming is often personalized with adjustments made to the timing, amount, and type of carbohydrates that individuals consume based upon individual needs. So keep in mind, metabolic priming is a very individualized approach that utilizes something called carbohydrate metabolism. So keto diets, for instance, optimized by fat metabolism. But the problem with fat metabolism is that when you guys eat low amounts of carbohydrates and go into a keto diet or a carnivore diet, you therefore crash your metabolism, and the main part of your metabolism supports essential body functions. Not only that, but you run into actual insulin sensitivity issues to where your body's no longer properly using glucose in the ATP process. So on the other hand, carbohydrate metabolism refers to the series of chemical reactions that break down and utilize carbohydrates in living organisms. It's a crucial process that provides energy for cellular functions and maintains blood sugar levels. So a lot of guys who come to me, they're like, worried about blood sugar levels and saying that what if I eat a lot of carbohydrates and I run into blood sugar issues? Well, carbohydrate metabolism ensures healthy blood sugar levels. In a lot of cases, a lot of clients who come to us actually improve their blood glucose levels, right? By improving the way the body optimizes carbohydrates. So it is an individualized approach that requires a lot of hands-on assistance and requires very key changes each week to optimize the body properly transferring into a carbohydrate metabolism state. But the steps of carbohydrate metabolism, carbohydrates are broken down into simple sugars by the stomach, mouth, and small intestine. Digested sugars are absorbed to the bloodstream. Glucose is converted into pyruvate. Pyruvate can be further metabolized in different ways depending on availability of oxygen. Excess glucose can be stored as glycogen. Yes, so a lot of guys, when they try this online, they see a lot of these videos and they go try it themselves. The problem is if you don't do it correctly, yes, extra glucose can be stored as fat. So a lot of guys who comment on this say, well, I tried this and I end up feeling like crap and I end up like gaining a little bit of weight. Well, that's because you didn't let the body transition into a carbohydrate metabolism state correctly, right? Because if you do it too quick and you raise carbohydrates when the body's not ready for it, the body will fight that glucose in the form of weight gain, fat gain, energy crash. But the overall purpose of carbohydrate metabolism is to, one, enhance recovery, to therefore have a longevity in your overall health, and to optimize the body's use of carbohydrates to have a more sustainable diet, right? Because when you are eating carbohydrates and you're eating the correct amount of carbohydrates, you can feel satiated for longer, you can have more energy levels, and you can have more sustainability by optimizing the body's main primary source, which is carbohydrates. So carbohydrate metabolism is essential for maintaining energy homeostasis, regulating blood sugar levels, and supporting various bodily functions. So I want us to remember that. So how does it work, right? So basically carbohydrate metabolism and breaking down your metabolism in general. Remember how we talked about above that essential body functions are a maintenance of the actual carbohydrate metabolism state, right? So 60-70% of your entire metabolism is the essential body functions. And so using carbohydrate metabolism, we can target the basal metabolic rate, which is 60-70% of what your metabolism is actually made of. On the other hand, there's 4 other quadrants, right? The thermic effect of food. So carbohydrates, for instance, have a 10% thermic effect, which means that 10% of the carbohydrates that you eat gets broken down in the energy conversion digestion process. As fat actually has a 3% thermic effect. So carbohydrates quite literally have a 3 times as much thermic effect than the macromolecule of fat. So moving on to NEAT, non-energy activity thermogenesis, when you're utilizing carbohydrates as your main fuel source of energy, there is an improvement of overall non-energy activity thermogenesis, which is walking, moving around, fidgeting. And the actual correlation comes between the fat burns in a carbohydrate flame, which refers to the scientific concept that the body needs the presence of carbohydrates to effectively utilize fat, meaning that without sufficient carbohydrates, the body cannot efficiently break down and burn fat molecules. Essentially, carbohydrates act as a necessary component for the complete oxidation of fat within the body's metabolic processes. So biomechanical mechanism, when carbohydrates are broken down, they produce molecules like oxalate, which are crucial for the citric acid cycle. The impact of low-carb diets. This is why very low-carb diets lead to a state called ketosis, where the body starts producing ketones bodies from fat as primary energy source due to lack of readily available carbohydrates. So while the phrase commonly used, it's important to note that simplification and doesn't fully capture the complexity interplay between carbohydrate and fat metabolism. So really from a psychological aspect, increasing NEAT comes from a psychological aspect of having more energy. The more energy that you have, the more likely you are to move around. If you are on a very low carb diet and you've crashed your metabolism, your body goes into a starvation mode, right? Which makes us downregulate metabolism and downregulate energy pathways so that we can save energy, right? So psychologically, when you are very tired, what are you going to do more likely? Go sit on the couch or actually go out for a walk, move around, go get the wife groceries? You're more likely you're just going to crash on the couch because you don't have more energy. But if you have more energy, psychologically, you are more accustomed to move more, right? So when you have more carbohydrates, you have more energy. So the cosplay and the interconnection between carbohydrate metabolism and overall non-energy activity thermogenesis comes from the actual psychology of moving more because you have more energy, right? And it's just what you plan, the planned and non-planned exercise. So keep in mind, this is calories that you burn when you're not even thinking about it, right? And they've done studies on NEAT and like fidgeting. And NEAT, for instance, when guys who fidget a lot burn 500 more calories per day by not even thinking about it, right? So with us, with carbohydrate metabolism in the program that we do run, we focus on these 3 quadrants of the metabolism, which makes up over 95% of your metabolism. So you guys focus on the planned and non-planned, or the planned exercises like working out, overdoing cardio for minimal returns. So we quite literally do less, move less, and we burn more calories. We do less cardio, we eat more food, and we burn more calories, and we see better progress. And the results, they speak for themselves. We have over 400 clients that we've worked with so far. And then when you even get down to the actual thyroid benefits of carbohydrates, there's an interconnection between carbohydrates and the active hormone of T3, which is the active thyroid hormone. So in men, reducing carbohydrate intake can lower levels of active thyroid hormone T3 by impacting the conversion of T3 to T4 to T3, potentially affecting insulin's role in that conversion process. This happens because carbohydrates influence the enzyme responsible for converting T4 into T3. When carbohydrate intake is drastically reduced, this enzyme activity can decline. So this is why when you guys get very low in calories, you are fighting against your body and you can't break that fat loss plateau because you have down-regulated your thyroid, down-regulated the actual production of T3, which then down-regulates your actual potential of even losing body fat, right? Cortisol comes into play. You get very highly inflamed. And as you can see with our client Devin here and his first shots that he came to us with, we could already tell that in his very low carbohydrate diet that his body was just extremely inflamed. We need to optimize digestion. And that's where the beauty of carbohydrate metabolism, metabolic priming comes into play. So the role of carbohydrates and what they do in your body and what they do from a more carbohydrate metabolism state is they are correlated to leptin, which is the satiety hormone. So using carbohydrates, you can feel more satiated. You can feel more full. They correlate to essential body functions, like we said, body's main fuel source. So leptin is the satiety hormone, right? So it makes you feel more satiated. It's also correlated to 60% of your entire metabolism, your body's primarily preferred fuel source. So getting into the actual case study with Devin right here, we started him out, and we're going to go through all of his entire case study and how this works, proof that it works, and exactly how we were able to transition his body into a carbohydrate metabolism state. So he came to us at 198 pounds. And the first thing we did is we had to optimize his macronutrients because, like he mentioned, this whole process of metabolic priming is a very customized and individual approach that takes a lot of tweaks and a lot of hands-on guidance. But the benefits of it is long-term sustainability within your physique, long-term benefits within energy levels, and long-term benefits within overall health and hormone panels. So we started him off at 2,200 calories with individualized custom macros, protein, carbs, and fats. So when you break down protein, carbs, and fats, protein is not only very satiating, but it has a 30% thermal effect. Carbohydrates have a 10 and fat have a 3. So we start with a kind of lower fat diet and a moderate to high carb diet, and we work the carbohydrates up. So what we're trying to do in this, the overall approach, is we are trying to prime the metabolism and get the BMR to actually rise. So when we start him off at 2,200 calories right here, we cut his cardio to 0. And why we did that is because we want cardio to be utilized at a newer date with a new stimulus. So when you understand the process of metabolic adaptation, the body accustoms to whatever you're doing to it. So let's say you're doing 20 minutes of cardio. On day 1, you burn 300 calories. On day 30, you no longer burn 300 calories because your body has metabolically adapted and your cardiovascular system has improved. So you're no longer burning calories. So we want to keep cardio low, so when we do go into a fat loss phase, that we can lose even more body fat and use cardio as an actual active stimulus. So with most of our clients who do come to us, their BMR is typically usually crashed due to low carb diets, keto diets, and the fitness industry being, pushing low carb diets and very low calorie diets for a very long time. So first thing we have to do before anything is we have to get this BMR up, because if not, we're running into basically a wall that is your BMR, right? Your BMR is not going to push. No matter how much cardio you do, how much lower your calories, if your BMR is crashed, it doesn't matter. You cannot push through that. It's going to push back. It's going to be put in a starvation mode. It's going to induce cortisol, lack of digestion, mental fog, lack of sex drive, lack of energy. And so we have to fix this first. And we do this by cutting cardio. And the goal is to slowly raise these up over time. And that's exactly what we did with Devin. So it does come with an individualized approach with your overall macronutrients, protein, carbs, and fats, because calories support your weight, macronutrients affect how you look and your actual hormones, and then micronutrients affect how you feel. Then we added a custom individualized training program for strength training so we could grow lean muscle tissue. So they've done studies on muscle tissue and fat loss. So it is quite literally more detrimental for your body to lose muscle tissue than it is to lose body fat. That is because muscle tissue is highly metabolic. It takes 8 calories to sustain 1 pound of muscle tissue. It takes 2 calories to sustain 1 pound of body fat. So muscle tissue is quite literally 4 times as metabolic. So in the metabolic priming phase, we are focusing on growing lean muscle tissue. So when we focus on growing lean muscle tissue, we can expand the muscles to therefore look and feel more prominent within your overall physique. So let's take bodybuilders in their off season, for example. They have visible perfect abs. Well, why is that? That's because they have the prominent muscle structure, and they have the muscle structure that pokes against that skin and makes them look and appear more lean. That's how you're able to stay leaner and have abs for longer. You have more defined and mature muscle tissue. So that's what we're focusing in our customized individual training programs with Devin, is growing that base, right? We're basically building a base, a foundation to therefore at a later date slice the body fat off. And then daily supplementation of vitamins and minerals where our clients do lack. Like we put certain supplementation in our clients' plans, like glucose sensitivity supplementation, even like insulin sensitivity supplementation. We put a variety of different things into our clients' plans based upon what they currently need and where their body needs to actually improve from a more scientific perspective of what they do lack. So this is where he came to us at 198. Right? You can see in his front shot, he's a little bit soft. He has a little bit of cortisol. Back and love handles aren't as tight as they want to be. And just within the first week, we can already see what happens when we start to introduce carbohydrates, right? So on the from 22 to 2,300 calories, this is what the actual body started to look like for Devin. So this is just 2 weeks later. So keeping in mind that when we change our clients' macronutrients, it's not an everyday weekly adjustment. It's adjustment based upon how your body responds. So there are some weeks you're going to see where Devin does, get more calories. And there's some weeks we have to just wait a little bit for his body to transition correctly. And as we go up in these, all we're doing is we're raising carbohydrates, right? We're just raising carbohydrates from 24 to 2,500. And you can see how his body's starting to lean out. And then next check-in, 25 more grams of carbohydrates. And you can see how he's already starting to find those abs once again. And then on the next check-in, 25 more grams of carbohydrates, next check-in, and we can see as time goes on that he's considerably getting leaner each and every single time. And then, next we add a little bit more fat to his diet for overall hormones because fat does play a role in your overall hormone panels. And then the next one is, just a little bit more carbohydrates, right? So cutting back on calories here soon. Cut starts next week's check-in, but you can already see how much more lean he is. But what I want to start to highlight is where we actually start his cut at. So we can start to see when he starts to reach the top end of his actual BMR, when we start to see maybe a little bit of water retention in his kind of side shot right here. And then when we look at his weight, we see a small weight spike, right? So when he checked in, we could see this small little weight spike right here. We knew that it was at the top end of his metabolic priming phase, and his body had maxed amount of the amount of carbohydrates that he could eat. So he is right here in these two photos from start to actually end of metabolic priming phase, eating 700 more calories per day and 400 grams of carbohydrates per day. So note the differences though in his overall physique. Note the differences in how he looks. Look how his back has leaned out. His love handles have leaned out. But now, more importantly, we have built the foundation. We have 700 more calories to work with. We have 400 grams of carbs to take away, and we've been doing no cardio. So the next thing we do is we just add a little bit of cardio, and then each week we do the exact opposite of what we did in the metabolic priming phase. We just slowly start to take these away. Plus 10 minutes of cardio, minus 50 grams of carbs, a little bit of fat, minus a little bit of more cardio from added a day of cardio to 35 minutes. Because when you're adding cardio, you can add it in two separate ways. You can add minutes per session or sessions per week. And then add lowered a little bit more carbohydrates, a little bit of protein, change cardio from 5 by 35 to 4 by 45. So basically we switch them over for time per week to sessions per week, or time per session to sessions per week. A little bit less carbohydrates on this date, but you can already see his body starting to transition and starting to lean out significantly. And then we did a 100 gram carbohydrate refeed, because the importance of refeeds in our plans is that when you understand T3 and you understand the downregulation of your metabolism, by default, your metabolism will lower over time. And that's we know that's supposed to happen. And the purpose of carbohydrate refeeds is to maintain the active thyroid hormone and keep the active thyroid T3 at large. And so even the next week, we can start to see him leaning out even more, minus 25 grams of carbohydrates. And this is where he checked in at now 180 pounds. And so this is the entire journey of his metabolic priming phase right here to his actual fat loss phase. Down 18 pounds from 198 to 180 and had a new low weigh-in yesterday. And the end result is that he is absolutely shredded on his side shot. And this is, keep in mind, he's eating relatively around the same amount of calories in both these photos, right? Not starving, not doing a ton of cardio, doing a little bit of cardio sessions per week, but it's more maintainable because he has carbohydrates in his diet, he's getting good rest and recovery, and he's not overdoing cardio to the point where he's producing a lot of cortisol. So overall, from the aspect of what this looks like in a fat loss phase, is really from 2,800 calories, we start to lower him each week and monitor his body composition. We raise the cardio a little bit, monitor his body composition. And as he's checking in, we're checking in for cortisol, we're checking in for any type of inflammation, any type of energy levels, any type of lack of digestion, body composition, weight, obviously. But at the end of the day, guys, weight doesn't really matter, right? Nobody really cares about their weight. They care about how they look. And there's a difference between weight loss and fat loss. Weight loss is lowering the number on the scale. Fat loss is lowering body fat percentage. And in a lot of cases, people get it wrong, thinking that weight loss is correlated to looking better, and that's just simply not true. Fat loss is correlated to looking better. We don't want to lose muscle tissue because that muscle tissue maintains the metabolic effect and keeps our metabolism high. So as he's going down, as you can see, we did give him a refeed because by default, your BMR will start to lower over time due to metabolic adaptations and lowering calories. But we know that. And so when we does check in and we reach a point we can see a little bit of cortisol and inflammation onto his body, we give him a carbohydrate refeed to boost that BMR a little bit, to keep it intact. And then, over the course of time, we do get him back down to that 2,000 calorie mark. He's doing that 40 minutes of cardio, but he has a maintainable BMR, which is most important for overall longevity and sustainability. So the biggest question I get is like, what happens after the fat loss phase? What happens after we get pretty low in calories again, we get pretty high in cardio, our BMR is starting to drop a little bit? Well, it's pretty simple. We go back into a metabolic priming phase, and we start to raise that once again, keeping the body fat low, priming the metabolism, but now we're slowly lowering cardio, but we're trying to prime the metabolism up here for more sustainability, right? And we can do this. We have clients that have come to us, have done through this process 4 or 5 times. And each and every single time that you go through a metabolic priming phase, you look better. You have more muscle tissue, you have more sustainability within a lean physique and in overall body fat percentage, and you're able to eat more and still look lean. It's a never-ending process when you understand the manipulation of your metabolism. And this is exactly what we do for each and every single one of our clients. But I don't want you to just believe what I say. I want you to actually hear from Devin himself how this went for him.
I want to thank you, Adam, for giving my six-pack back.
You're shredded right now. I'm not going to lie. Like, you are lean. Like,
man, I got way more energy. I feel like I did when I was in my 30s. I look better than I did in high school, and I haven't had a six-pack since junior and senior year of high school. Just my confidence really shot up. Simple things like taking your shirt off at the beach, having the other dads on, even single dads in there and stuff is just really encouraging and motivating. And I think I said it a couple times where I'm like, hey, if it wasn't for you guys, I don't know where I'd be right now. The 1% guys do the things that 1% guys do, and that's getting the help they need and prioritizing their funds, the things that are important to them. Because the best thing we can do for our families, for ourselves, is be healthy. Like, I'm 42 and I look and feel better than half the guys in their 30s. What you do, Adam, and now Nick do is I think it's not just for, a business, which I think you do have a pretty smooth running one. However, it is for the health of America.
Yeah, and that's Devin. Like, he came to our program. He had no idea what he was doing. He's been trying low carb diets, just fad diets that he saw on the internet, and he crashed his metabolism, right? He was feeling like crap. He had zero energy, and his body had just completely crashed, right? And if this sounds like you, if you're someone like Devin, who's 30 to 60 years old, and you've been trying low carb diets for some time now, and like, you're sick of it, like, you're sick of feeling like crap, you're sick of looking like crap, and you want to look like the man that you know that you can. You want to show up places and look good and have the stature of a high quality man, then there will be a link below. Fill out a time and book a call with us, because we can help you get to a next level physique, and we can show you exactly what you need to do to understand how to sustain it, how to maintain it, and what your body needs specifically to maintain this for the rest of your life. Because your family, your coworkers, your boss, or however you name it, they are counting on you to show up as the man. And that's the importance of understanding how important health and longevity is, and the confidence that you bring to the table. So if that sounds like you, links below, and we'll see you on the call.